My boyfriend of 5 years didn't just dump me at my favorite restaurant, the one where I thought he was finally going to propose. Oh no. After calling me embarrassingly plain and questioning if I'd let myself go in front of his smirking idiot friends he'd invited along, surprise, he stood up, tossed his napkin onto my barely touched risotto, and declared loud enough for the entire patio to hear, honestly, a girl looking like you should just be grateful someone like me even bothered for this long. Then he walked out, leaving me with a $400 bill and the pitying stares. The kicker? I just smiled. A small, calm, almost serene smile. I paid the bill, walked out with my head held high, and went completely silent. This morning, after ignoring his calls for 72 hours straight, my phone showed 37 missed calls, 15 voicemails, and a text message simply reading, "Please call me. I need to talk to you. Urgent." It was supposed to be the night. 5 years with Mark. 5 long years of ups, downs, compromises, inside jokes, building a life, or so I thought. We talked about marriage, vaguely, but recently he'd been dropping hints. Extra sweet, talking about forever, mentioning the future in a way he usually shied away from. He'd booked La Perla, our spot. Fancy, intimate, the place we had our first I love you moment. He'd even told me to dress up, wear that green dress I like, he'd texted earlier that day. Butterflies? Try pterodactyls flapping around in my stomach. Adding to the internal chaos was my own secret. A tiny, terrifying, exhilarating secret I'd been holding onto for 3 weeks. I was pregnant. I'd planned to tell him after he proposed. Picture it, romantic proposal, tears, joy, and then, guess what? We're starting our forever a little sooner than we thought. It felt like a movie script moment waiting to happen. I arrived right on time, feeling floaty, the green dress clinging just right. And then I saw them. Liam and Sam, Mark's college buddies. My heart sank a little. Not exactly the intimate proposal setting I'd envisioned. They were already seated at a larger table on the patio, beers in hand, laughing loudly. Mark waved me over, a weirdly tight smile on his face. "Surprise," he said, leaning in for an awkward cheek kiss that smelled faintly of beer already. "Thought we'd make it a celebration with the guys." "Oh," I managed, trying to rearrange my expectations. "Okay. Hi Liam, hi Sam." They offered mumbled greetings, barely looking up from their phones. Red flag number 1, but I brushed it off as typical guy behavior. The conversation was strained. Mark seemed agitated, fidgeting, talking loudly about some deal he supposedly closed at work, mostly directing it at his friends who offered performative nice, man responses. I tried to engage, asking questions, bringing up shared memories, but Mark kept cutting me off or giving one-word answers. He ordered another round of drinks for himself and his friends, barely acknowledging my water. Then came the food. I'd ordered my favorite risotto, suddenly feeling less hungry. Mark poked at his steak. Liam was scrolling Instagram, and Sam was trying to discreetly watch a game on his phone propped against the breadbasket. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. "So," Mark said suddenly, putting his fork down with a clatter. His eyes scanned me, top to bottom, with a look that wasn't appreciative. It was analytical. Cold. "You know, Chloe, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Here it comes," I thought, bracing for the proposal, despite the bizarre audience. Maybe this was some weird, elaborate fake-out before the main event? "And?" I prompted, trying to keep my voice light. He smirked, looking at Liam, then Sam, who finally looked up, sensing drama. "And I just don't think this is working anymore." The air punched out of my lungs. "What? What are you talking about, Mark?" "Us," he gestured vaguely between us with his steak knife. 5 years is a long time. People change. Priorities change. He took a large gulp of his wine. "And honestly." He paused, leaning forward conspiratorially towards his friends, but loud enough for me and the adjacent tables to hear clearly. "If I'm being brutally honest, I think I can do better. Look at you." My blood ran cold. "Excuse me?" "Come on, Chloe," he scoffed, a cruel twist to his lips. "Let's be real. You've let yourself go a bit, haven't you? That dress doesn't exactly scream future wife material. More like comfortably frumpy." Liam snickered. Sam looked profoundly uncomfortable, staring intently at his water glass. Tears pricked my eyes, hot and sharp, but a strange sort of calm settled over me. The shock was so profound, it bypassed panic and went straight to numb disbelief. This wasn't Mark. Not the Mark I thought I knew. This was a monster wearing his face. "So you brought me here," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "to our special place, invited your friends, and are breaking up with me because you think I'm frumpy?" The absurdity of it was almost comical. "It's not just that," he backpedaled slightly, clearly not expecting my lack of hysterics. "It's everything. The spark's gone. We're settling. And yeah, appearance matters. I deserve someone hotter. Someone on my level. Someone I'm proud to show off." He looked pointedly at his friends again, seeking validation. Liam gave a thumbs up. Sam looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him. And then, the final blow. He stood up abruptly, tossing his linen napkin onto my risotto. That perfect, creamy risotto I hadn't even touched. "So, yeah. We're done." He clapped Liam on the shoulder. "Come on, guys, let's get out of here. This place is dead anyway." As they started to walk away, Liam smirking, Sam avoiding eye contact, Mark turned back for his parting shot, projecting his voice across the patio. "Honestly, a girl looking like you should just be grateful someone like me even bothered for this long." He strode off, leaving me there. Alone. At a table for 4. With a $400 bill rapidly approaching. The entire patio was silent, all eyes on me. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, the humiliation washing over me in waves. But beneath it, something else sparked. Not anger, not yet. Just resolve. I took a deep breath. Then, I did the strangest thing. I smiled. Not a big, fake smile. Just a small, tight, almost unreadable curve of the lips. I calmly signaled the waiter, pulled out my own credit card, thank God I had it, and paid the entire bill, including a generous tip for the poor waiter who looked horrified. I walked out of La Perla with my head held high, ignoring the whispers and stares. I got into my car, drove home in complete silence, the radio off, the city lights blurring past. The tears didn't come until I was safely inside my apartment, the door locked behind me. Then, they flooded out, hot, angry, heartbroken tears for the man I thought I loved, for the future I thought we had, for the baby he didn't even know about. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Mark. Then Liam. Then Mark again. I stared at the screen, the name flashing, the vibrations jarring against my hand. I pressed the silence button. Then I blocked his number. Blocked Liam. Blocked Sam. I spent the next 72 hours in a daze of grief, fury, and sickening anxiety about the future. I called my sister, sobbing the whole story down the phone. She went into protective older sister mode immediately, full of righteous fury and practical advice. Do not talk to him, she commanded. Go dark. Let him stew in whatever mess he's made. I took her advice. Ignored the relentless calls, the increasingly desperate-sounding voicemails, which I didn't listen to, just saw the notifications pile up. Ignored the friend requests from fake accounts I suspected were him on Instagram. I focused on myself. Drank water. Ate crackers. Made my first prenatal appointment. And then this morning, day 4 of the silent treatment. The phone had been quiet for a few hours overnight. But I woke up to a fresh barrage. 37 missed calls since midnight. 15 new voicemails. And that one, single text message, please call me. I need to talk to you. Urgent. Something's happened. Something beyond him just regretting being a monumental asshat. His version of urgent usually meant he'd forgotten his Netflix password. This felt different. Buturgent for him. Not necessarily for me. I still haven't called back. Part of me is terrified. Part of me is morbidly curious. And a growing part of me, the part that paid that bill with a calm smile while my world imploded? That part is wondering exactly what kind of fire he lit that's now burning his house down. He wanted better? He thought I should be grateful? Let's see how grateful he feels now. First update. Wow. Okay, first off, thank you all so much for the comments, the support, the virtual hugs, and honestly, some of the absolutely savage and hilarious advice. Reading through everything made me feel way less alone in this dumpster fire. Seriously, you guys are the best. A few people asked for more details about Mark and our relationship, and if there were red flags. Hindsight is 20/20, right? Recap, my, now ex-boyfriend Mark, 30M, dumped me, 29F, very publicly and cruelly at a fancy restaurant where I thought he might propose, and where I planned to announce my pregnancy. He insulted my appearance, left me with a huge bill, and walked out with his equally charming friends. I went completely silent, blocked him everywhere, and woke up to 37 missed calls and an urgent text after 72 hours. Well, I didn't call him back. Obviously. My sister, Saint Sarah, as she shall henceforth be known, drilled into me that any response, even an angry one, would be giving him what he wanted, attention and engagement. My silence was apparently driving him nuts. The calls and texts continued for another day, getting weirder and more frantic. Voicemails I still haven't listened to, deleting them felt incredibly satisfying, highly recommend. Then, they abruptly stopped. For about 12 hours. The silence was almost louder than the ringing. During this time, the social fallout started. My phone, which had been blessedly quiet apart from Mark's meltdown, started pinging with texts from mutual friends. It was awkward. A few offered generic OMG heard what happened, so sorry, hope you're okay messages. One or two clearly got Mark's heavily edited version of the story and sent slightly cooler, questioning texts like, hey, Mark's really upset, says there was a big misunderstanding? Maybe you guys should talk? Yeah, a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding was that he thought he could publicly humiliate me and walk away consequence-free. One friend, Maya, who was always more my friend than his, called me, absolutely livid on my behalf. Chloe, I saw Liam's girlfriend's Instagram story last night, she said, her voice tight with anger. It was a boomerang of them doing shots at some bar right after they left La Perla. The caption was something like dodged a bullet #upgrade #freedom. I screenshotted it before she deleted it this morning. My stomach churned. So, not only did he humiliate me, but they were celebrating it immediately afterwards? And broadcasting it? Maya sent me the screenshot. Seeing Liam's smug face and the celebratory clinking glasses felt like pouring salt in the wound. It also solidified my resolve. No contact. Full stop. Then came the other calls. Not from Mark this time. From his mother, Brenda. Brenda and I had always had a decent relationship. A bit formal, maybe slightly strained because she worshipped Mark and saw any girlfriend as potentially not good enough, but generally polite. We exchanged birthday cards, had slightly awkward holiday dinners, the usual. Her first call came late on day 4. I hesitated, then answered, putting on my calmest, most neutral voice. Chloe? Oh, thank goodness. Mark said you weren't answering. Her voice was high-strung, laced with anxiety. Hi Brenda, I said coolly. Is everything all right? Well, no, not really. Mark is beside himself. He told me what happened, that you two had a disagreement. A disagreement? I interrupted, unable to stop myself. The sheer audacity. Brenda, Mark publicly humiliated me, insulted me in front of his friends, and dumped me at a restaurant, leaving me with a $400 bill. That's not a disagreement. There was a pause. Well, she said carefully, he admits he might have been harsh. He was under a lot of stress. Things at work, you know. He didn't mean it the way it sounded. Ah, the stress excuse. Classic. Brenda, with all due respect, stress doesn't excuse that kind of cruelty. And frankly, what happened between Mark and me is between us. I'm not really up for discussing it. But Chloe, dear, she persisted, her voice turning pleading. He's a mess. He hasn't slept, he's barely eating. He seems desperate. He keeps saying he needs to talk to you, that it's incredibly important. If it's so important, he can figure out a way to communicate like an adult, perhaps through an apology that doesn't involve blaming stress or minimizing his behavior, I replied, my voice firmer than I expected. But right now, I need space. A lot of space. But don't you care about him at all? She asked, a note of accusation creeping in. After 5 years? That stung. I cared about the man I thought he was for 5 years, I said quietly. The man who showed up at La Perla? I don't know him. And honestly, Brenda, right now my priority is myself. And the tiny life growing inside me, but she didn't need to know that. Not yet. Maybe never. I ended the call politely but firmly, reiterating my need for space. She sounded unhappy but seemed to accept it, for now. You guys asked about red flags. Looking back. Yeah. There were things. Subtle things I'd explained away. Financial stuff. Mark was always a bit cagey about money. He liked flashy things, the nice watch, the expensive dinners, when he was paying, apparently, talking big about investments. But there were times his card would get declined, or he'd forget his wallet, or he'd need to borrow money until payday, which sometimes stretched into weeks. I always made decent money in my marketing job, so I often covered things, thinking we were a team. Now? It looks less like teamwork and more like convenience. For him. Was he using me financially? Probably. Was the $400 bill not just cruel, but calculated because he couldn't pay it? Very possible. The jokes. He occasionally made jokes at my expense, often in front of friends. Little digs about my cooking, my taste in movies, sometimes even my appearance. Are you really wearing that? He'd always laugh it off, saying I was too sensitive if I got upset. Can't you take a joke? Was his go-to deflection. The restaurant incident wasn't a joke, but it felt like the final, horrifying evolution of those little digs. Insecurity and need for validation. Mark needed constant external validation, especially from his buddies like Liam and Sam. He craved being seen as successful, cool, the alpha male. Maybe dumping me so publicly, trying to paint me as the downgraded one, was his twisted way of puffing himself up in front of them? Making himself feel powerful by making me feel small? It sickens me to think about it. Liam, especially, always seemed to bring out the worst in him, more arrogant, more dismissive. So, it's been about a week since the incident. The calls from Mark have stopped entirely. His mom hasn't called back. Liam's girlfriend deleted the celebratory Instagram story, thanks to Maya's screenshot, the evidence exists. Sam, the friend who looked uncomfortable, actually sent me a brief, awkward text, "Hey Chloe, really sorry about that night." Mark was way out of line. "Hope you're doing okay." Didn't excuse his silence at the table, but it was something. I didn't reply. I had my first prenatal appointment. Hearing that tiny, flickering heartbeat on the ultrasound. It grounded me. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about protecting this little life from the toxicity I just escaped. It gave me a surge of strength I didn't know I had. The urgent need Mark felt to talk to me seems to have evaporated, replaced by silence. Or maybe he's just regrouping. Part of me is relieved. Another part, the part fueled by righteous anger and sheer curiosity, wonders what the hell was so urgent. Did his work deal fall through? Did karma come knocking faster than expected? For now, I'm focusing on me and Peanut, my temporary nickname for the baby. Therapy appointment booked. Support system, Sarah and Maya on high alert. Building my fortress of solitude and self-care. But I have this nagging feeling that this isn't over. Mark isn't the type to just disappear. Especially if that urgency was real. What do you guys think was so urgent? Any theories? And thanks again for listening, reading. It helps more than you know. Second update. Hey everyone. It's been a little over 2 months since my last update, and things have escalated. Again, thank you all for the incredible support, the theories about Mark's urgency, some were wild, some scarily plausible, and the advice on navigating this mess, especially with the pregnancy. You guys have been a virtual lifeline. Remember how Mark's calls and texts stopped abruptly after his initial frantic burst? The silence stretched for weeks. It was unnerving but also peaceful. I leaned into it. I told my boss about the pregnancy. She was amazing and supportive, started looking at bigger apartments. My current one is cozy, but not baby plus me cozy, and really committed to therapy. My therapist is helping me unpack the 5 years with Mark, identifying the patterns of control and emotional manipulation I'd somehow normalized. It's been eye-opening and painful, but necessary. The peace, however, was temporary. About 3 weeks ago, Brenda called again. This time, she wasn't just anxious, she was frantic. Verging on hysterical. "Chloe, you have to talk to him. Please," she sobbed into the phone. No preamble, just straight into panic mode. "Brenda, slow down," I said, trying to remain calm despite the alarm bells ringing in my head. "What's wrong? Is Mark okay?" Yes, despite everything, a tiny flicker of concern remained. "Sue me." "No. He's not okay. He lost his job, Chloe." Ding ding ding. There it was. The urgency. "What happened?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "They fired him. Something about discrepancies in his expense reports? Misappropriation of funds? I don't understand it all, but they're talking about legal action. He says it's a misunderstanding, that someone must have set him up, but they escorted him out of the building." Her voice cracked. "He's devastated. He's barely left his apartment in weeks. He needs you." "Okay. Wow. So, the big deal he was bragging about at La Perla? Probably smoke and mirrors. The financial caginess? The borrowing money? It all clicked into place. He wasn't just bad with money, he was potentially stealing it. And it finally caught up with him. "Brenda," I said, carefully choosing my words. "I'm sorry to hear Mark is going through a difficult time. Truly. But his employment situation, especially if it involves potential legal issues, is not something I can help him with. And honestly, his needing me now, after how he treated me, it doesn't change anything between us. But maybe you could talk to them?" She pleaded. "Tell them what a good person he usually is. Maybe. Maybe if you two were back together, presented a united front, they'd see it differently." I actually scoffed. "Brenda, are you hearing yourself? You want me to potentially lie or interfere in a legal investigation for the man who publicly shredded my dignity? To help him save face after he deliberately tried to destroy mine? Absolutely not. But he's the father of your child." She suddenly blurted out. My blood ran ice cold. How did she know? I hadn't told anyone except Sarah, Maya, and my boss. Mark definitely didn't know. How? How do you know about that?" I stammered. "Mark saw you," she said, her voice dropping. "He saw you coming out of the women's health clinic downtown about a month ago. He put 2 and 2 together. He knows you're pregnant, Chloe. He told me. He thinks. He thinks maybe this is why you were being distant before, why things fell apart. Oh. My. God. He saw me? Stalking me outside a clinic? And his takeaway wasn't guilt or remorse, but twisting it to blame me for the breakup? The level of delusion was staggering. And infuriating. Brenda, I said, my voice shaking with anger now. Mark knows nothing. He didn't know I was pregnant when he dumped me. He has no idea what I was or wasn't feeling. And him seeing me at a clinic doesn't give him any rights or insights, especially not after his behavior. My pregnancy is my business, and frankly, given his current instability and past actions, I have serious concerns about his involvement. But he wants to be involved, she insisted. He's sorry. He told me he made a terrible mistake. He loves you. He wants his family. His family. Suddenly, I wasn't just a frumpy girl he was ashamed of, I was carrying something he wanted, something that might make him look better, more stable, amidst his crumbling life. The cynicism tasted like bile in my mouth. Brenda, I can't do this right now, I said firmly. Mark made his choices. He needs to deal with the consequences. If he wants to discuss the baby, he can do so through appropriate channels, perhaps starting with a sincere, written apology and a lawyer. But I will not be manipulated or emotionally blackmailed because he's dug himself into a hole. Please don't call me about this again. I hung up, shaking. He knew. And he was trying to use it. Trying to use our child as leverage to fix his own mess. The fallout from that call led directly to the next event, Mark showing up. It was last Saturday night. Pouring rain. I was curled up on the sofa watching Netflix, feeling the baby kick, tiny flutters that always made me smile. Then, loud banging on my apartment door. Not knocking. Banging. My heart leapt into my throat. I froze. Looked through the peephole. And there he was. Soaked to the skin, hair plastered to his forehead, looking wild-eyed and desperate. Mark. Chloe. Chloe, I know you're in there. Open the door. Please. His voice was slurred. He was drunk. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Chloe, please. We need to talk. About the baby. Our baby, he yelled, rattling the doorknob. Our baby. Hearing him say it sent a fresh wave of rage through me. Go away, Mark, I shouted through the door, my voice trembling but loud. You're drunk. And you're not welcome here. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm so sorry, he cried, his voice breaking. Losing you. Losing my job. I messed up. I know I messed up. But the baby changes everything. We can fix this. Please, Chloe. He started sobbing then, loud, messy sobs, still banging intermittently on the door. I love you. I never stopped. That night. That was Liam. He was winding me up, saying you weren't good enough, that I could do better. I was stupid, insecure. I didn't mean it. Blaming Liam now? After celebrating with him? The excuses were pathetic. Hearing him cry, seeing him, through the peephole, looking so broken. A tiny, stupid part of me felt a pang of pity. But it was drowned out by the memory of his face at La Perla, the sneer, the cruelty, the utter lack of remorse then. And the knowledge that he was only here now because his life was imploding and he thought the baby was his lifeline. Mark, you need to leave, I said, my voice steadier this time. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police. That seemed to register. The banging stopped. He sniffled, still leaning his forehead against the door. Just think about it, Chloe. Please. Don't shut me out completely. For the baby. Then, I heard his footsteps squelching away down the hallway. I slid down the door, my back against the wood, and finally let out the shaky breath I'd been holding. He knew about the baby. He lost his job over something potentially illegal. He was drunk, desperate, and blaming everyone but himself. And he was trying to use our unborn child as a bargaining chip. This wasn't just a bad breakup anymore. This was dangerous. Unpredictable. I immediately texted Sarah and Maya. Sarah called me instantly, ready to drive over with a baseball bat, figuratively. I think. Maya started researching restraining orders. The next morning, there was a soggy, pathetic-looking bouquet of drugstore flowers outside my door with a handwritten note. I'm so sorry. Please call me. I love you both. M. I left the flowers there for the cleaner to throw out. I didn't call. So, that's where we are. Mark knows. He's unemployed, possibly facing legal trouble, and sees me and the baby as his redemption arc. His mom is running interference. And he's shown he's willing to show up drunk and cause a scene. My resolve hasn't wavered, but my anxiety has definitely spiked. I feel more protective of Peanut than ever. I need to figure out my next steps, legally and logistically, to ensure our safety and peace. This isn't just about my hurt feelings anymore. Thanks for reading this novel-length update. Any advice on dealing with desperate exes who suddenly decide they want to play happy families when their own lives are in shambles? Especially when there's a baby involved? Lawyers are definitely on the list. Hello again, everyone. It's been another couple of months, and let me tell you, the roller coaster hasn't slowed down much. First, thank you for all the advice on the last post, especially regarding legal steps and safety measures. It was incredibly helpful and validating. Many of you shared similar stories, and knowing I wasn't alone in navigating this kind of chaotic aftermath meant the world. Following your advice, and my sister's insistence, I consulted a lawyer specializing in family law and restraining orders. It was expensive, but worth every penny for the peace of mind. We decided against a restraining order for now, mainly because Mark hadn't escalated beyond the one drunken incident, and my lawyer advised it might be harder to enforce cooperative co-parenting later if, and that's a big if, he ever got his act together and proved capable of responsible involvement. However, she drafted a very strongly worded cease and desist letter. The letter basically stated that Mark was not to contact me directly, email, phone, text, social media, carrier pigeon, you name it, show up at my home or workplace, or contact my friends or family regarding me or the pregnancy. All communication regarding the child was to go through her office, effective immediately. It also referenced his alarming behavior, the public humiliation, the drunken scene at my door, and mentioned witnesses, hello, Sam's conscience text and the entire La Perla patio. We sent it via certified mail to his last known address, his apartment, and emailed a copy to Brenda for good measure, as she seemed to be his primary enabler/messenger. The reaction? Silence. Blessed, beautiful silence from Mark for about a week. I started to breathe a little easier. Maybe he finally got the message? Of course not. Because Brenda called my lawyer's office. Apparently, she got the letter and went full mama bear defending her persecuted cub. According to my lawyer, who has the patience of a saint, Brenda spent 20 minutes ranting about how cruel I was being, how Mark was the victim here, how this misunderstanding at his work was ruining his life, and how I was trying to steal her grandchild. She accused me of orchestrating his firing, which, what? How would I even do that? And demanded I retract the letter and stop this nonsense. My lawyer calmly explained, repeatedly, the legal definition of harassment, reiterated that Mark's job loss was entirely separate from his relationship with me, and stated that any future communication needed to be formal and address the actual issues, like potential child support and custody arrangements after the birth, if paternity was established, and if he demonstrated significant personal change and stability. Brenda apparently ended the call by threatening to tell everyone what kind of person I really am. Go ahead, Brenda. Most people already saw what kind of person Mark is. Okay, this part is kind of wild. Remember Maya, my friend who screenshotted the celebratory Instagram story? She has a cousin, Jen, who works in HR at a completely different company but has a wide network. Out of curiosity, and maybe a little bit of righteous fury, Maya mentioned the situation vaguely to Jen. Guy gets fired for financial discrepancies shortly after a nasty public breakup. Jen, being an HR gossip queen, bless her, did some discreet digging through her network. It turns out Mark wasn't just fudging expense reports. He was allegedly running a whole scheme involving submitting inflated invoices from a shell company supposedly run by. Wait for it. Liam. Yes, smirking accomplice Liam. They were apparently skimming money off vendor contracts for over a year. According to Jen's sources, grain of salt, but it sounds plausible, someone internal finally flagged Mark's reports after noticing consistent overspending and oddly specific vendor choices. The investigation started before our breakup. However, the social fallout from La Perla might have inadvertently accelerated things. Apparently, word got around Mark's office about his spectacularly cruel dumping performance. It made people look at him differently, scrutinize him more closely. Maybe the guy bragging about needing a hotter girlfriend while potentially embezzling company funds didn't sit right? The timing of his firing, right after his life started publicly imploding, wasn't a coincidence caused by the breakup, but perhaps his own behavior made his colleagues less inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt when the financial stuff hit the fan. Karma, maybe? And Liam? Apparently, he's lawyered up and is trying to pin everything on Mark, claiming he was just an unwitting participant pressured into setting up the company. So Mark's best buddy, the one egging him on at the restaurant and celebrating his freedom? Yeah, he threw Mark under the bus the second things got legally serious. Shocking. Sarcasm. Learning this didn't make me happy, exactly. It's a mess, and it involves potential crimes. But it did validate my gut feeling that Mark's problems were entirely of his own making. His desperation wasn't just about losing me or the baby, it was about his entire world collapsing due to his own greed and stupidity, possibly dragging his friend down with him, or vice versa. Remember Liam's girlfriend's celebratory Instagram story? Well, things have changed. Maya keeps tabs, for intel purposes, she says. Apparently, Liam and his girlfriend broke up explosively a few weeks ago. There have been vague, passive-aggressive posts from her about liars and users. Seems Liam's charm wears thin when potential legal trouble looms. Even Sam, the quiet, uncomfortable friend, seems to have distanced himself. Someone saw him out, and when asked about Mark, Sam apparently just shook his head and said, "Dude's got issues." Keeping my distance. It seems the cool guy persona Mark and Liam projected is crumbling fast. The public humiliation they subjected me to? It backfired. People talk. Reputations matter. Their attempt to make me look small ended up shining a spotlight on their own ugliness. A couple of weeks ago, I was waddling through the grocery store, contemplating the merits of pickles versus ice cream. The baby wants both. Send help. When I literally bumped carts with someone. I looked up, annoyed, ready to apologize, and froze. It was Sam. He looked equally startled, then deeply uncomfortable. Chloe. Wow. Hi. Sam, I nodded curtly, trying to maneuver my cart away. Hey, look, he said quickly, stepping slightly into my path. I just wanted to say again, I'm really sorry about that night. What Mark did, and how Liam acted. It was messed up. And I'm sorry I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. Why didn't you? He shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. Mark was intense that night. And Liam. You know how they get together. Honestly, I was shocked. I didn't know how to react. But it wasn't right. What he said to you. Nobody deserves that. He glanced down at my very obvious baby bump, then quickly back up, his cheeks flushing slightly. Anyway. Just wanted to say that. Hope you're doing okay. I am, I said, my voice even. Better than okay, actually. Thanks. I pushed my cart past him without waiting for a reply. It wasn't forgiveness, not even close. But hearing him say it, seeing the genuine shame on his face. It was another small piece of validation. The narrative Mark tried to spin was falling apart, even among his own friends. So, legally, the cease and desist seems to be holding, for now. Socially, Mark and Liam appear to be reaping what they sowed. Financially, Mark is likely in deep trouble. And emotionally? I'm okay. More than okay. Pregnancy is tough, NGL. Hormones are wild, my ankles are swollen, and I miss sleep. But every kick, every ultrasound, reminds me what I'm focusing on. I found a bigger apartment in a neighborhood closer to my sister, and Sarah and Maya are throwing me a baby shower next month. I'm building my village. Do I think about Mark? Sometimes. Mostly with a weird mix of pity and disgust. The love I felt is long gone, replaced by the harsh reality of who he truly is. The hurt is still there, but it's fading, overshadowed by excitement and anxiety about becoming a mom. His mom, Brenda, hasn't contacted my lawyer again, but I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to get involved once the baby arrives. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, lawyer firmly in tow. Mark himself? Total radio silence since the letter. Is he finally getting it? Is he too busy dealing with his legal mess? Is he planning some other desperate move? I don't know. But I'm prepared. My focus is forward, on me, on Peanut, on building a safe, stable, honest life, far away from the wreckage Mark created. Thanks again for sticking with me through this. Almost there. The baby's due in about 8 weeks. Wish me luck navigating these final stages and whatever post-birth drama might pop up. TL, DR, lawyer sent cease and desist to Mark. His mom freaked out at my lawyer but backed off for now. Found out via HR grapevine Mark was fired for allegedly embezzling funds with Liam, who is now trying to blame Mark. Investigation started before our breakup but social fallout may have accelerated it. Liam got dumped. Other friend Sam apologized in person. Mark is silent, likely dealing with legal/financial mess. Focusing on pregnancy, moving, and preparing for baby. Feeling stronger and more prepared for whatever comes next. Final update. Hey everyone. This will likely be my final update on this whole saga. It feels surreal to even type that. First, as always, your support over these past few months has been incredible. Reading your comments, sharing laughs over the absurdity of it all, and getting solid advice truly helped me keep my sanity when things felt overwhelming. So, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Quick recap, dumped publicly/cruelly by Mark, discovered I was pregnant, dealt with his subsequent meltdown/job loss, for embezzlement foot his buddy Liam/drunken confrontation, lawyered up, sent cease and desist. Mark went silent, his mom, Brenda, threw a fit via lawyers, his social circle crumbled. I was focusing on the 3rd trimester and preparing for baby Peanut. Well, Peanut decided to make an early debut. Sophie Grace arrived 3 weeks ago, healthy, loud, and utterly perfect. She's tiny and wrinkly and smells like heaven, and honestly, holding her makes all the drama of the past year fade into background noise. The moment I saw her, something inside me shifted. All the anger and hurt towards Mark didn't vanish, but it settled. It no longer consumed me. My focus became laser sharp, her. Protecting her, loving her, giving her the best possible life. My sister Sarah was my rock during labor and delivery, and Maya has basically moved into my new apartment, which I managed to move into just before Sophie's arrival, thank goodness. My village is strong. About a week after Sophie was born, while I was still in that newborn haze of sleeplessness and overwhelming love, a massive bouquet of expensive-looking flowers arrived at the hospital. White lilies, roses, the works. The card was addressed to me. My heart sank. I almost told the nurse to toss them, but curiosity, and maybe a touch of morbid fascination, got the better of me. The card read, "Chloe, congratulations on the arrival of our beautiful daughter." Seeing her picture, Sarah had posted one announcement pic on her private Instagram, which I guess someone shared, filled me with regret and hope. I know I have made unforgivable mistakes. My life has been chaos, deservedly so. I'm trying to sort things out. I want to be better. For her. I hope one day you can let me prove it. All my love, always, Mark. No demands, no excuses, for once, just that. It was surprisingly subdued. Still manipulative in its own way, playing the changed man card already, but less aggressive than I expected. Maybe the reality of his legal troubles, and likely therapy, Brenda might have forced him into it, was sinking in. My lawyer had advised anticipating something like this. We'd already decided on the protocol. I didn't reply. I didn't acknowledge the flowers, though Sarah did take a picture of the card for documentation before we let the nurses distribute the flowers to other patients who might enjoy them. Any future attempts at contact regarding visitation or support would need to go through her. Period. A few days after I got home with Sophie, Brenda showed up. Unannounced. My sister happened to be there, thankfully. Sarah intercepted her at the door before I even knew she'd arrived. According to Sarah, who gave me the filtered version later, Brenda was teary-eyed, holding a ridiculously large teddy bear and a bag overflowing with baby clothes, likely trying to buy her way back into favor. She apparently pleaded to see the baby, her granddaughter. She talked about how Mark was getting help, how sorry he was, how family should stick together, how Sophie needs her father's family. Sarah was polite but firm as granite. She reminded Brenda about the lawyer, about the cease and desist applying to all unnecessary contact, including showing up uninvited. She told Brenda that while I might consider supervised visits through official channels eventually, if Mark demonstrated genuine, sustained change and responsibility, including sorting out his legal mess and arranging child support, ambushing me at home days after giving birth was absolutely not the way to achieve that. She accepted the gifts, to avoid escalating the situation, but made it clear this wasn't an open door. Brenda left looking defeated, apparently muttering something about me being cold-hearted. Honestly? Hearing about it later, I just felt tired. Tired of their drama, their attempts to force their narrative onto my life. But also, weirdly detached. It was like watching a bad play from the audience instead of being trapped on stage. Jen, Maya's HR friend, provided one last piece of intel. The embezzlement case is moving forward. Liam apparently cut a deal, providing evidence against Mark in exchange for lesser charges. Shocking. Mark is facing significant legal fees and potential prosecution. His sorting things out likely involves trying to avoid jail time and bankruptcy. Any talk of child support right now seems laughable from his end, though my lawyer will pursue it officially once things are clearer. His financial situation is dire, confirming my suspicion that the La Perla Bill incident wasn't just cruelty, but possibly financial desperation masked as arrogance. So, where does that leave me? Standing on my own 2 feet, holding my beautiful daughter, and looking towards the future. The public humiliation at La Perla feels like a lifetime ago. The girl who sat there stunned, smiling numbly while her world burned down? She's still part of me, but she's not all of me anymore. I went through hell. I was betrayed, hurt, and scared. But I came out the other side stronger, more resilient, and with a much clearer understanding of my own worth, and a much lower tolerance for BS. Mark's actions, intended to diminish me, ultimately revealed his flaws, his insecurities, his ugliness. He tried to define me by my appearance, by my perceived lack of worth compared to him. Instead, he inadvertently set me free. Free from a relationship that was likely built on a foundation of his own issues and possibly deceit. Free to build a life based on honesty, respect, and genuine love, starting with the fierce love I have for Sophie. Will Mark be a part of Sophie's life? Honestly, I don't know. That depends entirely on him, on whether he can truly address his issues, take responsibility, and prove himself capable of being a stable, positive presence. It won't be on his terms, driven by his needs or his mother's manipulations. It will be on my terms, dictated by Sophie's best interests, with legal guardrails firmly in place. He doesn't get to just waltz back in because he sent some flowers and feels regretful now that his life is in shambles. He needs to earn it. And even then, the romantic relationship is dead and buried. Forever. For now, my world revolves around Sophie, my supportive family and friends, my career, planning my return from maternity leave, and healing. It's not the future I imagined 5 years ago, or even 6 months ago. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes scary. But it's mine. And for the first time in a long time, I feel genuinely hopeful. The smile I wear now? It's real. Thank you all, again, for being part of this unexpected journey. Your voices made a difference.